In this lesson, we'll explore peck drilling and ways that we can remove the material in these holes. Now, instead of copying this toolpath, which we could do, I'm just going to create another toolpath manually because I want to show you a different way to select geometry. Now, if you look here, we have a prompt that tells you how to select the various points. One option is to do a control click, and that selects all the matching radius solid features. So if I hold down the control key and make sure I select this face, it identifies these four. Now, not only does it identify the actual point, which we're going to be drilling, it also identifies the radius if we need that, depending on the toolpath. It also identifies the top and the bottom of the hole. So this is very powerful, and you'll see this in a minute when we get into the parameters. I can go in here and reorder some of these drilled points. So for example, maybe this is the first one, and I want this one to be the second one. I can shift them up. So now solid feature number 4, which happens to be this one, is set as number 2. So let's click OK, and we're back into the same parameters as before. So under the tool, I'm going to choose a different tool now. I'm going to choose tool number 7, which is our standard drill. And under the comment, I'm going to call this Peck Drill. Under the cut parameters, instead of just choosing a drill counter bore, I'm going to choose Peck. And then you can see that we have a Peck value that we can input here. This Peck value all set to 0.2. And under the linking parameters, you'll notice we have a bunch of options here that we might have not had earlier. One of them is calculate incremental values from holes lines. I'm going to keep this turned on. And what that means is since I selected this hole, it knows the top and the bottom. So for example, top of stock is 0 incremental. That will be right here for this hole, right here for this hole, and of course the other 2 will be right up top. That's the top of stock. And the depth would be the bottom of the hole. So if I set this to 0, it's going to be incremental to the bottom of the hole. So again, top of stock is equal to the top of hole, depth is equal to the bottom of the hole. We also have an option here which I won't turn on, calculate the depth from the top of the hole. I could have done this for the last toolpath when we created a spot drill. That would have worked just fine. Instead, I picked the actual top of the holes, which did the same thing. So let's click OK. And you'll notice you can see the yellow circle that indicates the point when the tool starts to feed into the material, which is different down here. And if we spin the part around, we'll notice that it comes all the way down to the depth there. Same thing for those two. So the top and the bottom is different. It's all based on the various solid holes. Now, one other thing we can do here is we can go back into the drill parameters. And you saw how we can do a depth calculation if we wanted to add some sort of countersink. But also we have tip compensation. Depending on how this part was held in a vise, we can turn on tip comp and break through the bottom. Let's just break through by 10 thousandths here. And assuming we're not going to drill into a fixture or anything below, we can use this value and we should be safe. So now let's click OK. Regenerate. And we'll take a look here, and each one of these drill toolpaths come right down below and break through the bottom. So to recap, we selected these solid holes by holding down the control key, and that identified the top and the bottom of those holes, which is a very, very powerful feature to use. In the next lesson, we're going to look at how to create a tapping toolpath if we needed to tap these holes.